Evening, everyone. Good evening, everyone. Please take your seats. We're about to begin. Good evening, everyone. Hello, everyone. My name is Kim Thompson, and I am a member of the Board of Directors of the Martin Luther King. Good evening. Can you hear me now? All right. Hi, my name is Kim Thompson, and I am a board member of the Martin Luther King Jr. Freedom Center, and it is my great pleasure to be your MC for the evening. On behalf of the Board of Directors of the Martin Luther King Jr. Freedom Center, I'd like to welcome everyone here and thank you for joining us for a very special Barbara Lee and Elihu Harris lecture series event. I'd particularly like to extend a warm welcome to our very own Congresswoman Latifah Simon, as well as a very special welcome to Congressman and House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries, who you will meet in a little while. And of course, many other esteemed leaders who you'll be meeting in a few minutes. But I'd also like to welcome the Martin Luther King Jr. Freedom Center board members who are here, Dr. Roy Wilson, who you'll be talking to in a few minutes, the Honorable Elihu Harris, who is also here on the stage with me, and Alton Jelks. I'd also like to acknowledge our sponsors for the evening. A very special thanks to our Peacemaker sponsor, California Nurses Association. Thanks also to our Community Heroes sponsors, AFSCME 3299, the Clorox Company Foundation, IBEW 595, the Golden State Warriors, and the Institute for Community Leadership. Thanks also to our contributors sponsors, Alameda Labor Council, Blaisdells, and East Bay Mud. And of course, thanks for bringing this to us, our very special Martin Luther King Jr. Freedom Center. And of course, Peralta Community College District. So folks, for those of you who don't know, this is our 32nd lecture of the Barbara Lee and Elihu Harris lecture series. They originally began in 2011. And like at each lecture, engaged citizens of multiple generations, just like all of you, come to learn and listen and learn how to become even more engaged. And many of the events that we have held over the years have had incredible speakers, including Dorothy Cotton, Reverend C.T. Vivian, Andy Young, Congressman John Lewis, two presidents' daughters, Carrie Kennedy and Lucy Baines Johnson, Martin Luther King Jr. III, Bobby Seale, Terry Sewell, James Clyburn, Sheila Jackson, Anita Hill, Bob Moses, Reverend James Lawson, and Jack Odell, just to name a few. And of course, tonight we have another very special guest. So I don't know about you, but I am really excited about this evening's lecture. It couldn't come at a better time. If you're in this room, I know you understand the importance of democracy and how important civic engagement is. And we are, to say the very least, at a very interesting time, to say the least. But let's not think to ourselves that this is the time to throw our hands up in despair. No, now is the time for us to recognize that we have the good fortune of some outstanding leaders who are truly inspiring and who are working to fight for us and for our rights. And now is also the time for us to reject cynicism and instead jump into the work that needs to be done to bring back civility and competence and excellence, and yes, equity back to this country. And we shouldn't just do it sort of apologetically. No, we should be boldly and confidently rolling up our sleeves to get the work done that needs to be done. And tonight, we're going to hear from several leaders with their ideas on how we can do that. So with that brief introduction, I would like to introduce our Mayor of Oakland, Kevin Jenkins, to give us a quick welcome.
Good evening, everyone. Are you guys excited? Come on. I know for some of you guys, you haven't been in here in a number of years. Is that right? So it's my honor to welcome you guys here on behalf of our great city. It is a distinct honor to welcome you to the Barbara Lee and Elihu Harris Lecture Series hosted by the Martin Luther King Freedom Center. So tonight we're going to come together to celebrate the spirit of civic engagement and the power of informed leadership. I extend my deepest gratitude to the MLK Freedom Center for their unwavering commitment to ensuring that the next generation of Oaklanders is well-informed and active in civic life. Their work is a beacon of hope and progress for our community. I also want to thank Elihu Harris and Barbara Lee for their immense sacrifices and dedicated service in elected office. Their contributions have enriched our city and set a high standard for public service that inspires us all. A special thank you to the House Minority Leader, Hakeem Jeffries, who's doing his job. For gracing us with his presence this evening. His participation highlights the significance of this gathering and reinforces our shared commitment to a better future. It's also an honor to be in the presence of a future mayor and the next Speaker of the House of Representatives. Come on now. And that's a reminder that our community's future is bright and full of promise. Thank you all for being here. I hope that you enjoy tonight and leave here inspired to continue the legacy of civic engagement and service. Thank you so much.
Thank you to our mayor, and I know he wasn't in the program, but we couldn't help but invite him, but think to invite him. So thank you so much for those kind comments. And so now I am delighted to introduce a man who has a lifetime of experience teaching intergenerationally and particularly teaching youth about how to lead with compassion and peace. Our Martin Luther King Jr. Freedom Center Executive Director, Dr. Roy Wilson.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome. It's great to have everybody here. We're right on time. Dr. King says it's always a good time to do the right thing. We thank you for your patience, the fact that we were formatted at the beginning of this building, the way we were formatted. If you've come to many of the Barbara Lee and Elihu Harris lectures, we were in a different format. That is a sign of the times. And if you can measure when Andy Young spoke, or Dr. Dorothy Cotton spoke, or the Kennedy daughter of the revolution spoke, our security was us, people in the community, grandmothers, teenagers. We're confronted by an entire organized, you can call them, I like the word fascism. It's helpful. There are many metaphors that would be appropriate to help define this critical crisis in humankind. A better world is possible. A more mature and reflective America is absolutely necessary. We find ourselves frightened and scared in a world house, and now we need to create a world of sisterhood, brotherhood, and solidarity. We must work hard to protect those institutions and structures that democracy is built on. We must fortify our unions. We must assist our faith-based organizations in developing the most humanist religious and spiritual experience for our people. We must recreate the family in forms that permit all of us to become ready to be lifelong citizens and do the arduous work of developing and maintaining democracy. We have work to do. The joy of this movement is real. It brings smiles. It brings a sense of happiness. Dr. King asked us to change ourselves, transform ourselves into what he calls transform nonconformist. Dr. King also says, like Joe Hill said, don't mourn, organize. Let's put our hearts and bodies together and create an energy force that liberates our own spirits, liberates our minds, and liberates our nation for a democracy for all. Let's move on. Let's move on. Let's move on. Here we go. Let's move.
Thank you so much, Dr. Wilson. That was fantastic. And now I have the great pleasure of introducing you to another great educator, Dr. David Johnson, president of Merritt Community College. I've lost my mind. Merritt Community College. Come on up.
Got a promotion. Good evening. No, we in Oakland. I need it from you. We in Oakland, right? Yeah. I need it from you. Good evening. There we go. To our respected elders, political leaders, community activists, committed educators, and other esteemed audience members, welcome. It's an honor and pleasure to be with you tonight to affirm our longstanding partnership with the MLK Freedom Center under the inspired leadership of one Dr. Roy Wilson. Our connection with you all has been an ongoing source of pride and celebration, and the Barbara Lee and Ella Hugh Harris lecture series that you sponsor is of singular value because it provides us the opportunity to engage with ideas and individuals as part of our collective effort to spread understanding, truth, and humanity. Tonight's a perfect example of that. And as president of Merritt College, I am incredibly humbled to be in the presence of so many champions of the righteous cause, which is namely seeking peaceful, nonviolent solutions to the difficult challenges we all face in our communities. And we know that we are in the midst of facing exceedingly challenging times right now. But I take comfort in knowing that our students are doing the necessary work to prepare themselves to meet the mark. And I am certain that having the Honorable Hakeem Jeffries here with us this evening will spur these students on, and I suspect even inspire a few of us older folks as well. Because the reality is going to take all of us. It's going to take all of us if we want to effectively combat the callousness, ignorance, recklessness, and selfishness that is besieging our country. So with that said, let's clear our minds, open our hearts, and have an amazing evening.
Thank you, Dr. Johnson. And now I'd like to briefly acknowledge several elected officials who have joined us this evening. There may be more than I list because we may not have caught you all, but we're very pleased to have Assemblywoman Mia Bonta here. Please stand up. BART Director Victor Flores. Stand up when I call you. Mayor Marilyn Ashcraft, Mayor of Alameda. Of course, we've already mentioned our Mayor of Oakland, Kevin Jenkins. Oakland City Council Member Janani Ramachandran. And I know there may be others, and if I have missed you because we somehow managed to not catch you coming in, please stand up, elected officials, if I haven't said your name. Oh, thank you. All right, and now I am really happy to introduce you to my fellow board member, who's actually the chair of the board of the Martin Luther King Jr. Freedom Center. He's a man who needs no introduction, but I'm going to introduce him anyway. Once our mayor, always our mayor, the Honorable Elihu Harris.
Good evening. I want to take a little liberty before I make my remarks. The leader is a member of Kappa Alpha Psi fraternity, and so am I. And our former Grand Polemarch, Robert Harris, is here, and the Berkeley Alumni Chapter President, Derek Butler, is here. There are other Kappas here, so we want to let you know that you're not alone. You don't need security. Let me just say something that's really important to me. You might not know this, but when I was 7 years old, I got a Bible because of my attendance to Sunday school. So I'm going to be a little religious today because it's not Sunday, but I think you need a little sermon. So most of you know anything about the Bible know it starts with Genesis and goes through Revelations. For those of you who don't believe, let me tell you something. Get you a Bible, because we're in the period of Revelations. Because we got the devil and the Antichrist in the White House. Now, I don't think that Hakeem Jeffries is Jesus. And I know he doesn't intend to get crucified. But he got to know he got a problem on his hand. Because these folks don't believe in Jesus, God, or even humanity. They are out to destroy what they used to call democracy. And if you don't understand what a dictatorship is, all you got to go to Pennsylvania Avenue in a white building, and there's a man in charge who thinks he's the king. There are people outside who are protesting. Unfortunately, they're in the wrong place at the wrong time. We've got to redirect our energy toward the real enemy, not each other. The people in the White House have one agenda: divide and conquer. When we are divided, we cannot stand. We have to learn who the devil is and how to fight him, not simply ignore him. We went to sleep at the wheel in November of 2024. And the one thing you learn in democracy, you either get the people you vote for or you get the people other people vote for. We failed to vote, we failed to organize, and we're now all suffering because of that failure. We have a chance in Oakland to take our city back. We have a young man that you heard earlier who's the interim mayor. He stood up because he had the leadership skills and the desire to serve. We have another woman, a little older, who has served us well for 34 years in public office. So if you haven't seen her movie, Barbara Lee Speaks Truth to Power, let me tell you, go look at the movie. Because, you know, she ain't scared of Donald Trump. And you know what? She could have stepped aside, stepped off the stage, and got all her job well done, but that's not who she is. That's not who any of us are if we believe in each other, if we love each other, and we're committed to serving each other. That's why she's running for mayor. So I want you to understand, you cannot expect to elect anyone, one woman, one man, whoever it is, and expect them to save our city. We're all in this together. We can't just send Barbara Lee to City Hall. We got to go down there with her. I've been in that chair, and it's not always a pleasant place to be because people get upset. Sometimes they have righteous indignation. But getting upset at each other and not understanding how we have to struggle together, how we have to work together, how we have to love each other, how we have to embrace each other, how we have to show our children by our example what the future can be and will be when we are a village that works together, raising our children and preparing for their collective future. That's what we have to be about in 2025. Any failure is not on Barbara Lee, it's on all of us. So I want you to be encouraged. We're here today to appreciate, not only to appreciate the leadership that Hakeem Jeffries is bringing to our country, but to understand that in Oakland, we have all that it takes to demonstrate what a village can be when it comes together. We embrace our young people. When we deal with those who do not want to follow the golden rule, some people have to go to jail. And I'm not apologizing. In fact, they're the problem, not me. If they can just get themselves together and be part of the solution, we don't have to send anyone to jail. But there are some people who don't seem to be able to live among other human beings in peace. And we have to protect our children. We have to protect our elders. We have to protect each other. So I'm not going to apologize to having a public safety program that, yes, is about social justice, but it first of all is about public safety. So let's all come together, not just find blame and criticism. Let's find solutions. And tonight, let us celebrate our humanity, let us celebrate our community, and let's celebrate our collective future. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mayor Harris. So before I introduce the next speaker, I wanted to quickly make sure that you all know you too can have your own copy of this amazing, amazing book. As you came in, you probably saw some young folks in the back selling this book, and it's a roadmap to where we want to go, but it's written in such simple, easy terms that anybody can read it and fully understand what democracy really is all about. So after the discussion today, you'll see some other young folks, again in the back, at a table, as well as sort of walking around. You'll be able to recognize them. They'll have a Martin Luther King Jr. Freedom Center tag on them, and they'll be selling the books. I hope you'll go and pick one up for yourself, and then one for your cousin, and one for your brother, and one for your sister. Makes a great gift. Even young people, very young people, can understand a lot of what is in this book. So, just a small plug. The book is The ABCs of Democracy by Hakeem Jeffries. The other thing I wanted to quickly mention is the fact that when you came in, you got a program, and inside that program, there was an envelope. And that envelope is for you to consider making a gift to the Martin Luther King Jr. Freedom Center. I personally truly believe in the mission of the Martin Luther King Jr. Freedom Center in making sure that all of us understand what democracy is, and really helping young people in particular learn about how to become great leaders and hopefully represent us one day. And so myself, my husband, and I are making a donation tonight of $1,000. That's not like, wow, it's gonna change the world, but it is something that, is something that feels meaningful to me, and I hope that each of you will consider making a gift that's meaningful to you, to the Martin Luther King Jr. Freedom Center. No gift is too small, and you can throw it in that envelope, and if by chance you don't have a pen to write a check or whatever, or cash, and you still like to make a gift, and giving it through, technology and through your phone is your thing, we gotcha. Because there is a QR code also on that envelope, and feel free to scan that QR code, and you will find instructions on how you can make a donation to the Martin Luther King Jr. Freedom Center. So please consider making a gift. All right, with that, I am now really excited to introduce you to another local leader who clearly needs no introduction. If you live anywhere in the 12th Congressional District, or for that matter, if you don't live under a rock, you know our rock star, new member of Congress, who I absolutely adore, the one and only Congresswoman Latifah Simon.
This is such a beautiful space, right? This is Oakland. I am so honored to be in this conversation with you all tonight, to see our mayor introduce us. I'm so proud of you, Kevin. Thank you for stepping up. Oakland is a beautiful place with beautiful leaders. It feels good to be led by a young black man who is working day in and day out to advance us till April. I have this amazing job tonight to introduce one of my heroes, and I know that Miss Lee is sick of me doing this because I do a little bit much every time that I do it. I tell a story about how important she is to our lexicon, not just here in Oakland, but around the globe. But before I introduce Miss Lee, who's so incredibly energetic, by the way. When you're in the United States Capitol, let me tell you, it takes a long time to get from your office to the Capitol. There are these tunnels that are there are tunnels that were built by slaves, let me be clear, or enslaved people, that take you from one end to the other. And at any given time during the day, votes will be called. There's a buzz, there's a woo, you will hear it in your office. And by the time I get to the Capitol, which is about 6,000 steps, I'm winded, and I'm 48 years old. And to know that Miss Lee, who actually took me through the Capitol my first few days in Congress, and I was winded every time, and she would say, "You better come on. You better come on and get better shoes." And I have been telling and reminding folks of those first couple of days, because I know, Miss Lee, that you meant more than "I better catch up with you." You were warning me of what was to come. Now, we knew clearly the day after the election that we were in for a path. But like our mayor said, I don't think even the folks who voted for this administration could have predicted such evil. I want to tell you, this morning I was at Berkeley. Go Bears. I'm a Mills woman. But I was able to visit a lab led by a Nobel Peace Prize winning scientist. This woman is this close to curing sickle cell disease. This lab is this close for finding good treatment for our brothers and sisters and elders living with ALS so that they can live. This lab has committed itself to treating and curing very rare diseases. Over $37 million may be cut from this lab, halting research and firing brilliant young students because of the ignorance of an administration that knows not what they do. So the folks outside who are asking us, rightfully so, what are you doing? What is the plan? Do your job. Well, let me tell you what my black job is. Every single day that we walk in to what my brother and mentor Hakeem Jeffries has told me is the Coliseum. We pray and we go into battle. We withhold our votes. We educate our people, and we sue the hell out of this administration every damn day. Every damn day, because the thinly veiled democracy that was built on the back of your grandmother is ours to have. It is ours to have. And with the criminal in the White House who has hired folks who are inapt to run a lemonade stand, making decisions about where your elders will live their last days, we say hell no, and I guarantee you, we will hand the gavel to Hakeem Jeffries in 2026. But before we do that, we will be engaging our people every day on the streets, in the courthouses, in our schools, on our college campuses, by phone. We will be knocking doors. We will be engaging labor. We will win our rights back because, ladies and gentlemen of Oakland, when you have a government that scapegoats trans children, you know there's no righteousness in that White House. When you have a government and an administration who scapegoats disabled veterans, you know we have the higher moral ground. My black job is to be your voice because I have huge shoes to fill. Miss Barbara Lee, I want to just be clear. Being a single mother in Washington, D.C. is no joke. But the only way that I knew that I could do this job, because this woman brought her babies on her hip to D.C. over 3 decades ago. 2 babies, running them halls. She's one of the few legislators in the United States Congress who has a 100% progressive voting record. She's one of the few members of Congress who can say, actually the only member of Congress, she's my forever Congresswoman, that can say that for 30 years she led the most, and the census will tell you this, California's 12th congressional district is the most diverse congressional district in the United States. There's over 150 languages that are taught literally in our schools, on our streets. You hear them on our buses. We pray to all things that are good in this district. We love one another. We fight against wars. We tell the truth. We help our folks who are weeping, and we're trying to get to solutions that are deep in the DNA of a country that still doesn't know how to feed its poor and heal its sick. We are working to do better. Barbara Lee has shown all of us that when you have courage, when you do the hard thing, you might be on the corner, remember you told me this, by yourself. But if you are voting and living in your courage, in your core value, folks will come on. Folks will come on. I introduce to you my professor, your forever Congresswoman, our mentor, someone who is so clear, and I cannot wait till she runs this city, Miss Barbara Lee, Congresswoman forever of California's 12th District. Wow. Okay, are y'all fired up and ready to go? We did good, didn't we? We got a warrior woman member of Congress representing the 12th Congressional District. Thank you, Latifah, for making us so proud. She's on the Small Business Committee, and she's on the Oversight Committee. She's on that committee keeping this administration and putting them in check. You have come for such a time as this, Latifah. So thank you, thank you, thank you for taking that baton and carrying it forward and running this lap of this race, because this is a marathon. I'm so proud of you. Good evening. Well, it's good to be home. Mayor Jenkins, let me just say to you and to Dr. Johnson, to Elihu, to Sheila, to Kim, thank you so much for doing the heavy lifting tonight and for your friendship and for your leadership and support. Give Kim a round of applause because she's doing a phenomenal job. To our sponsors, to Karen and Roy. Look, I've been with them daily through this journey, and let me just thank you so much for staying the course. Give Karen and Roy a round of applause, please. And to our sponsors, and most importantly, to the young people who make us proud each and every day from the Martin Luther King Jr. Freedom Center. Give the young people a round of applause because they are phenomenal. Now, Elihu and I founded the center in probably 1996, 1997, and it has achieved more than what we dreamed it would be. These young people, just let me tell you a couple of things. They have accompanied me 5 or 6 every single year to Selma, Montgomery, and Birmingham, to the Civil Rights Pilgrimage. And I know you're going this year, aren't you? It's unbelievable. And we had the privilege to take 5 or 6 of our young people to meet John Lewis. And every single year, John Lewis pulled them aside and talked to them. They had a chance to visit and get to know so many of our civil and human rights leaders, some of which Kim read tonight, who have been here. But it was their idea because we were there and we're saying, we wish that people in my district, in Oakland, in the 12th Congressional District, had the same opportunity as these 5 or 6 young people had each and every year for 20 years. And so we decided then we would establish this lecture series and bring these people to Oakland, California. And so the young people did this. So give them a round of applause because this is their service. This is their civic work that they're doing. And so I am so proud and so honored that our leader, Hakeem Jeffries, accepted this invitation by the Martin Luther King Freedom Center children, young people, to be with us on our first lecture of 2025 during Black History Month. Because you know he will be the first speaker of the House. It's just a matter of us doing the work. And let me tell you just a couple of things about Leader Jeffries, because I've known him for many, many years. And I have seen him, how he fights each and every day. He took this baton, he took it, and he continues to fight this battle against this evil in the White House and on the Hill, trying to dismantle our democracy daily. He fights each and every day, and I know this because I see him do it and have seen him do it, to make life better for everybody each and every day. But he also fights so hard to make sure that he finds consensus with, and you know that Democratic caucus, I mean, we all as Democrats think we are the smartest ones around, right? It's a very diverse caucus.
And he has done and continues to do a tremendous job, and I mean a tremendous job, bringing unity to our caucus so that we can move forward and speak with one voice on behalf of you in protecting our democracy and preventing this government from being dismantled and to prevent, well, you know what they're trying to do now, right? Cut Medicaid. Can you believe that? Trying to cut Medicaid. And so he is a person who, I won't even say who's standing in the gap, but he is a person who, again, has come for such a time as this. Hakeem Jeffries, if you read his bio in the program tonight, and I won't read it, but I want to highlight just an aspect of his remarkable background. Now, many of you know that I got involved in politics through the insistence of the first black woman elected to Congress and to run for the presidency, and that was Shirley Chisholm. You know that, right? Y'all know that. Well, Hakeem Jeffries, first of all, helped me tremendously during my last act in Congress to get past the Congressional Gold Medal honoring Shirley Chisholm. And that was a big deal, and I want to thank Hakeem for doing that for her 100th birthday. And finally, let me just say, you know who represents Shirley Chisholm's district in Brooklyn, California? It's Hakeem Jeffries. I mean, excuse me, in New York. Where did I say? Where did I say? In Brooklyn, well, in New York, it's Brooklyn, New York. And he has taken Shirley Chisholm's spirit and he has brought that to Congress, fighting so much for the poor, the middle class, fighting to make sure that he is the one leading us to the next, in the next 2 years, to make sure that our democracy prevails. And believe you me, you know, and you heard our Congresswoman, Latifah Simon, talk about how fragile it is right now. So please join me in welcoming, during this Black History Month, welcoming a leader who we know, and I want you to get to know him now before he becomes a speaker, but he will be our Speaker of the United States House of Representatives very soon if we do our work. Hakeem Jeffries, from the great state of New York and the city and the borough of Brooklyn, New York, Shirley Chisholm's district. Hakeem. Okay, you want to give a quick opening statement or you want to get started?
Well, good evening, everybody. What an honor and a privilege to be here in the great state of California, here in Oakland. And here with all of you, and here with the legendary, iconic, heroic, honorable Barbara Lee, who has made Oakland, the Bay Area, the state of California, the country, and the world a better place because of her leadership. And we're so thankful, Barbara, for all you've meant to me, to the Congressional Black Caucus, the House Democrats, of course to Latifah Simon, who has hit the ground running. She's an amazing member. You have sent a real fierce champion to represent you, to Mayor Harris, Brother Harris, of course, Brother Jenkins, and to each and every one of you. You know, this is a fragile moment, as everyone has indicated, and we've seen unprecedented, unlawful, unconstitutional action flowing from 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue at record-breaking speed. And I look forward to our conversation to break it all down, to share our perspective in terms of what we're doing, but what we all can do to get through this moment. But it's clear to me that the flood of extremism, that the parade of horribles represents both who they are and an intentional strategy to try to disorient and discourage and disillusion all of us and the American people. They want us to step back, but we're going to fight back. And the one thing I'll say at the top, Donald Trump is not a king, and we will never bend the knee.
Thank you very much. Now let's talk about this budget. Many, you all know, I was on the Appropriations Committee and the Budget Committee, so I've been following this very closely. And many know very well that the GOP budget betrays the middle class, betrays low-income people, poor people, the working class, betrays our children. It betrays everyone except billionaires in America. And they're doing this, the budget, to provide tax cuts, more tax cuts for the billionaires. So how do you see this emerging in terms of the Democrats being able to either hold the line, push back, or not pass the budget?
Well, this is going to be the first major legislative fight in the House of Representatives that will be before us as early as next week. And as Barbara indicated, you know, a budget is a statement of values. And this Republican budget makes it clear they're not for working class folks, they're not for working families, they're not for the poor, the sick, or the afflicted, they're not for the middle class, they're not for all those who aspire to be part of the middle class, therefore they're billionaire donors and wealthy corporations. And last week, the budget worked its way through on a party line vote. Every single Democrat voted against it, the Budget Committee, and it could be on the floor as early as Tuesday of next week to start the process, a process that will ultimately, if they're successful, lead to what we characterize as the GOP tax scam being jammed down the throats of the American people. Now, what's important, we're seeing all over the country, as Republicans have gone back home to their districts, them being held accountable for what we're going to vote on shortly. And here's how I would just briefly explain it all, and I said this on the House floor, but we'll continue to say this certainly as we engage more intensively in the legislative arena around the budget next week, that Republicans spent 2024, including the current president when he was on a campaign trail, promising to lower the high cost of living every chance they got in the United States of America, and then lying about their understanding of Project 2025. Acted like it didn't exist. That's what they did last year. This year, they've done nothing to try to lower the high cost of living in the United States of America. No bill, no ideas, no initiatives, and are spending all of their time implementing the most extreme parts of Project 2025. It was a toxic bait and switch. And we're going to have to continue to bring this information to the American people, which will result in disappointment, or even, as it should, as Barbara said, betrayal. Because what their primary objective is, as this budget represents, $4.5 trillion in tax cuts for the wealthy, the well-off, and the well-connected. And then they want to stick all of us, everyday Americans, with the bill by basically shredding Medicaid as we know it. They're authorizing approximately $880 billion in possible cuts to Medicaid. That will close hospitals in rural America, in urban America, in the heartland of America, in small town America. It will shut down nursing homes. It will hurt children and people with disabilities and older Americans who need long-term care. And so There are 215 Democrats. There are 218 Republicans right now in the House. By the way, that's the narrowest majority that any party has had since the Great Depression. And they run around acting like they have some mandate. But what that means is, if as Democrats we can continue to hold together, all we need is 2 or 3 Republicans to do the right thing for the American people, and we can stop all of this bad stuff from happening. And that's going to be our focus as we enter into the debate next week to start the process. We stopped them in 2017 from repealing the Affordable Care Act. Together, we can stop them from this reckless Republican budget.
Well, that leads us into just briefly talking about health care, because we believe here that health care is a basic human right, right? And I know Congresswoman Latifah Simon believes that also. And wanted to ask you, Leader Jeffries, I was part of the negotiations for the Affordable Care Act. We know that right now that Medicaid, the Affordable Care Act, Medicare, our funding for our community health centers, our healthcare system, we need to strengthen, not weaken. And again, this is how democracy is supposed to work, so we have a voice in this. How can the American people, how can we help you push back on this? Because we cannot allow this to happen, right? We cannot allow this to happen.
Thank you so much. And this is a question that, as I travel throughout the country, and over the weekend, I was in the Dallas-Fort Worth area meeting with healthcare providers. And then on Monday, I was in Baton Rouge with Congressman Cleo Fields, was back at home in Brooklyn Tuesday and Wednesday, then went to Chicago yesterday, flew into San Francisco this morning. Now I'm in the great city of Oakland. Basically, I wake up every day asking, what city am I in, y'all? But what we do know is that all across America, there's a high degree of energy and I believe resolve to defend what makes this country who we are. Not a perfect country, but always on a march toward a more perfect union. And so, as we've been spread out across the country, members of Congress at home in their districts, just like Latifah has been doing all week, in communication with constituents that we're honored to represent, we've said a few things. One, it's important to share your story. And the power of storytelling as it relates to how these devastating cuts will affect your family, your friends, your neighbors, your coworkers, your children, your grandchildren, your mother, your father, your grandmother, or your grandfather. This is how we were successful in stopping the repeal of the Affordable Care Act. And so we're encouraging members to share the stories of their constituents. Any of you in this room can share your stories around Medicaid, around health care, around nutritional assistance for children and veterans and families with Congresswoman Simon. And we're going to elevate those stories back in Washington throughout the debate on the floor, throughout the committee hearings that unfold, as we hold press conferences, communicate on TV, on radio, on social media, because it's an all-hands-on-deck effort. So you have the power to share your story, and your story can be meaningful. You also have the opportunity to join a variety of different advocacy organizations that are in this fight. Protect Our Care, as an example of an organization that we work closely with around preserving and protecting health care in America. And that can be important. And the other thing, as you've done tonight, but can continue to do, we're encouraging folks to gather people in their communities, even if it's just a handful, to talk about your reaction, your feelings to what's unfolding, because in just doing that, we strengthen each other. And bring your member of Congress in. I'm not volunteering Latifah, but I know she's on the ground. For living room conversations, for coffee shop conversations, and of course for town hall meetings. And we're starting to see that activity now occur all across the country. But you can organize that on your block, in your neighborhood, in your building, and all of that will be important as we collectively, as the mayor indicated, Mayor Harris, as we collectively get this country to a better place.
Thank you for that response, Leader Jeffries, because what is taking place in this country is people feel powerless because of the overwhelming nature of this evil, right-wing, backwards looking and turning, and the efforts to dismantle our government. And people, when that happens, we know what happens. And so we have to stay engaged, and we have to realize that we're part of the solution, and that we must, if no other time than now, must rise up and engage politically in our neighborhoods with our young people. Because if we go to sleep and if we believe that we cannot do anything, then we won't do anything. And the Trumps of the world will win. And we're not going to let that happen. So thank you for reminding us that we have a part to play also. Thank you. Privacy, data security, Elon Musk, Doge, this madness that's coming out of Washington, D.C. right now in terms of the invasion of our privacy is terrifying. How are Democrats, and hopefully Republicans also, addressing this? Because this is another indication of the direction that they want to take us in terms of the dismantling of our democracy.
Yeah, thank you for asking that question. This is a very important part of the journey that we're all engaged in, and the absolute fierce pushback that will be necessary. And as we work through this moment, we've said, look, there's going to be legislation and the battles in Congress, and that will be important. There's litigation, the pushback that will be necessary to continue to occur through the courts, and that will have to play itself out. And there are dozens of lawsuits that have been filed. And then, of course, there's mobilization in the communities where everyday Americans can express themselves, and we can elevate those stories and make it clear there is no good reason for Elon Musk or his minions to have access to your names, your addresses, your birth dates, your social security numbers, or your bank account information. No good reason. And we are determined to make sure that it never happens. So we've introduced legislation, and we'll only need 3 Republicans to join us on this. The Taxpayer Data Protection Act, we introduced that 2 weeks ago, that would make it clear that access by Elon Musk or anyone at his direction through this so-called Doge effort is unlawful. The other thing that I will say, as we work the legislative process, and we have to hold House Republicans accountable, as I mentioned, it only takes 3. Only 3. And on that point, what should give us some hope? And they want to take hope away from us, and we can never allow them to do that. Okay? It's not blind hope. It's hope that's anchored in the fact that we've faced struggles before and overcome. We know that the African American journey is filled with that reality as we celebrate and honor Black history. And by the way, Black history is American history. We will never let them whitewash it or erase it. You never let them whitewash it or erase it. But in the congressional arena, remember, when Trump was elected the first time around, he came into Congress, he had 241 Republicans, there were only 194 Democrats. And now we're at 218 to 215. They still couldn't get the Affordable Care Act repeal through the Congress with massive numbers. And so there's the legislative front to push back against this so-called DOGE effort. But this is also where the courts, at least as of the moment, are holding. There have been more than 75, I think it's 79 and counting, different lawsuits that have been filed by our attorney generals that we work closely with, including your attorney general here and my attorney general back at home, Rob Benta. I do my research, y'all. But Tish James, Fierce, back home in New York. So we're working closely. I was on the phone with Tish a few days ago. We're working closely with our attorney generals, the advocacy organizations, the democracy reform organizations, the civil rights and civil liberties organizations. 75 different lawsuits have been filed related to at least 35 of the unconstitutional and unlawful executive orders. And Donald Trump's not winning in court, he's losing. He wants y'all to believe that he's winning, but he's largely losing. We haven't won everything yet, but the overwhelming majority of decisions so far have resulted in temporary restraining orders or preliminary injunctions or nationwide injunctions. And that will continue to be important, including halting Elon Musk's capacity to get this information. Now, the last point I'd make on this is we started a rapid response task force and a litigation working group so that we can work closely with the brilliant lawyers who are leading the charge here. And they're working on many things, including, and it's led by Joe Neguse, brilliant young member of Congress, and Jamie Raskin, a great champion of the Constitution and our democracy.
We know that there have been attempts to privatize Social Security over the years. Now, Musk and Trump were in the Oval Office. They called a press conference, and they claimed that they found fraud within the Department of Social Security, found a 50-year-old woman receiving SSI. Now, again, misinformation, disinformation for a reason, and we know what that reason is. But how do we counter those lies, in essence, to make sure that that does not get baked into the public psyche, that this is misinformation, is disinformation, and there's a reason that they are putting these lies out there?
Yeah, well, they clearly are lying to the American people, and that's not new. We do have to dismantle. They have a subterranean disinformation machine. And one of the first things that I charged the team back in Washington with doing in the aftermath of the November election is to say, first of all, we cannot combat what we cannot see. And so the first thing we have to do is understand the exact nature of this subterranean disinformation machine and all of its tentacles, because it goes far beyond now what is considered traditional media, TV or radio, or their right-wing newspapers. It's podcasts, it's lifestyle programming, it's YouTube shows, it's gaming apps, it's messaging chat groups. And so we've got a comprehensive effort, Barbara, underway, one, to uncover it all so we can then combat it and expose it all. Because the lies are told, but one of the lessons from the 2024 campaign is that if we're not seeing how some of this misinformation is getting to the American people, then folks are showing up, voting, believing certain narratives that we've never had an opportunity to combat. And so that's one of the efforts that is underway. And on the substance of Social Security, first of all, it's so ridiculous, and we believe in an effective, efficient, and equitable. I was looking for that third E, y'all. An effective, efficient, and equitable federal government. And if there's waste, if there's fraud, if there's abuse, like in any organization, we want to root it out. But the average person on Social Security receives $65 a day. $65 a day. Elon Musk's federal government contracts are worth $8 million a day. If you want to go find waste, fraud, and abuse, start there. Start there.
Let me, I know time is short. How much time do we have left? About 5 minutes. Let me, we got some time. Let
I
me
feel
ask
at home,
you,
y'all. We
okay,
got a couple
okay,
of minutes.
Okay, I'd like to ask you, can you describe our caucus, the different, I mentioned earlier how working with Leader Jeffries is really quite remarkable, watching him and understanding how he understands everyone and their points of views and where they come from, politically, who they are as people, what they represent, who they represent. Why don't you just share a little bit about how you do that? Because I have never seen such a time when our Democratic caucus had been so unified with so many different points of views, because all of us thought and I know Latifah knows that she's one of the smartest, is the smartest one, but you know, Democrats think, we all think so, but Latifah is. And so how do you deal with all that and come to consensus with the caucus, given those different points of views?
Well, you know, first of all, it's such an honor and a privilege to serve, you know, in the House, and as Congresswoman Lee mentioned, you know, now representing the district so Shirley Chisholm, just making sure y'all were paying attention, that Shirley Chisholm once represented, and be able to stand on her shoulders, stand on Barbara's shoulders, stand on Maxine Waters' shoulders. You know, it was amazing when I first got to Congress and went to my first CBC meeting, legends all around me, Barbara Lee and Maxine Waters and John Lewis, of course, Jim Clyburn, Charlie Rangel, Eddie Bernice Johnson. I was thinking to myself, how did they let Hakeem Jeffries in this room? But it's, you know, it's just an incredible collection of public servants who are there to work on behalf of the people in the House. And we're proud of the fact that we've got such amazing diversity, to Barbara's point. And right now, you know, more African Americans serving in the Congress than ever before. More Latinos serving in the Congress than ever before. More Asian Americans serving in the Congress than ever before. More women serving in the Congress because of the House Democratic Caucus than ever before. More LGBTQ members serving in the Congress than ever before. And so collectively, you know, we represent, I think, in the most authentic way, you know, the hopes, the dreams, the aspirations, the fears, the concerns, the anxieties, the passions of the American people. That's what the framers wanted. And the House is the institution that channels that best, and no one does it better than the House Democratic Caucus. But of course, you know, our job is to make sure that we can, you know, that we can hold the unity together, have our different perspectives, talk it all out, but at the end of the day, find the highest common denominator that brings us together so we can deliver for the American people and we can protect the American people. And, you know, I'll never forget the first time that I was on the floor, you know, of the House as a new member in 2013, and happened to see John Lewis, the great John Lewis, and then we had a little bit of a conversation, and it started this way. He said, "Are you the new guy?" I said, yes, sir. Because anyone with any sense called John Lewis sir. And then he said, you from Brooklyn, right? Now, Barbara, I was tempted to say, Brooklyn is always in the house. But it was John Lewis. So I said, yes, sir. And then he said something to me that I've never forgotten, and this is the spirit by which I think we all have to proceed in this moment. He said, well, young man, I hear good things about you from your predecessor, and looking forward to working together, serving together with you. But Washington, D.C. can be a tough place. So I don't want you to get into any trouble unless it's good trouble. This is a good trouble moment, y'all. For all of us, it's a good trouble moment.
Well, you know what? That leads me to I guess, our final question. And I'd like for Latifah to come up over here, because I want us all to respond to this, because what we know that's happening in the country is a lot of people have lost hope. A lot of people have lost hope. Why don't you share with us something about hope tonight, and why we cannot lose hope, and the importance of hope, and what this means at this moment in time in our history.
I'm right behind you, Auntie.
Thank you very much.
I'm good? Okay. So I think I recently came across, as I was preparing to participate in the Martin Luther King program down in Florida with Congresswoman Frederica Wilson, and so honored to be here as part of this lecture series in the Martin Luther King Jr. Center. And it struck me when I came across it, shortly after the Montgomery bus boycott was initiated, and that was in December of 1955. And this is a tough set of circumstances in the heart of the Jim Crow South, with no reason to believe that things could possibly change, anchored in a practical sense of what that part of the country was like, and the KKK and others running rampant. And so they started that Montgomery bus boycott, and I came across something that occurred a few months after that. It was in March of 1956. Dr. King was gathered in a setting not unlike this, speaking to folks about the movement and where they go from there. At a moment where there are a lot of people who were in despair. And Dr. King said that we've got to press on. And he said, if you can't fly, run. If you can't run, walk. If you can't walk, crawl. But at all times, press on and keep pressing. And that's exactly what they did. So I just want to say at this moment in time that notwithstanding what may seem to some to be an insurmountable situation, it's not. It wasn't for Rosa Parks, it wasn't for Dr. King, it wasn't for Fannie Lou Hamer, it wasn't for John Lewis, it wasn't for so many unnamed, unheralded foot soldiers in that civil rights movement, because they pressed on. And at this moment in time, what we all have to do every day, every week, every month, throughout the first 100 days and beyond, throughout the year, through the midterms, and then beyond, we got to press on for our children, press on for our seniors, press on for our dreamers, press on for our veterans, press on for working families, press on for the middle class, press on for the poor, press on for the sick, Press on for the afflicted. Press on for the least. Press on for the lost. Press on for the left behind. Press on for voting rights. Press on for civil rights. Press on for racial justice. Press on for social justice. Press on for economic justice. Press on for reproductive freedom. Press on for democracy. Press on until victory is won.
Press on. Now let me tell you. All right. Let me tell you.
We all believe in democracy.
Yeah.
Thank you all. We all
Okay,
believe in democracy, and it's important. We're here to learn, and let's press on.
And we talked a little bit earlier about telling stories, and I want to just share a quick story, because this is Black History Month, which is American history. But I want to share a quick personal story, which highlights and is an example of what our leader just said about pressing on. My great-grandmother was born during slavery in Galveston, Texas. I was born in El Paso, Texas. Long story. Bottom line is, my dad was in the military. He loved this country. He served in World War II. He served in Korea. He was in the segregated 92nd Battalion in Italy, supporting the Normandy invasion. He came back here to America, was stationed at Fort Bliss, and then I was probably 2 or 3 years old. We moved up to Berkeley. My dad was stationed at Monterey at Fort Ord, but my mother wanted to buy a house. And she wanted to buy a house in San Leandro. People told her she could not buy a house in San Leandro because she was Black and because it was known as a very racist city, very mean-spirited, very hateful. But she was determined, and my dad was determined. So he put on his uniform. He was a lieutenant then. He retired out of the Presidio as a lieutenant colonel, mind you. But he put on his uniform. They went out to San Leandro to buy a house. And they damn near were run out of town. This Black man and woman trying to buy a house in San Leandro. But guess what? I have represented San Leandro for the last 27 years in Congress, okay? So we have to press on. And remember the Black experience in America during this month especially, to give you hope and to give you courage to keep hope alive.
I mean, what do you say after these two folks? You know, for the folks who are saying, you know, what do we do now? It is a collective question. I am so proud that members of this district, first of all, we've been getting about, Jeffries, you told me, sir, that I was going to get hundreds of calls every day. It's been about 900 calls every single day. But I want to be clear, where my hope is that the senior organizers in the room, where I'm excited, is that we organize our neighbors to make the right calls. Make the right calls to the men and women in the Republican Party who refuse to see your children as human. I'm inspired because, like you said, Mr. Jeffries, and by the way, coming into the Congress, the 119th Congress, this man has opened up his office and his staff to me, has been so good to me, thank you, and has reminded me that every day that I wear this pin, no matter how tired I am, remember you said just hold the pin, because less than 200 African Americans, black folks, people of African descent have been able to wear this pin. And so my journey in the Congress is not only to make you proud, not only to serve you all, but to accept the mentorship of the first African American Speaker of the House, because I'm claiming it right now, to be able to press on and know and understand, and I will give the microphone back to my mentor and our forever Congresswoman, but like in this place, King said to a group of 920 folks during a time as perilous as this, brothers and sisters, he said, either we accept community or chaos. You remember that? Community or chaos. Our community is stronger than this evil. Our community is stronger and more brilliant and more organized than this chaos. We will prevail.
All right. Can we ask the young people to come up from the center? Some of our young people. Are there some of our young people from the MLK Center? Where are they? They're out in the lobby. Okay, that's okay. Okay, Kim, we'll turn it back to you, and thank you again. Leader Jeffries, want to thank you so much for being with us tonight and giving us hope and being authentic, transparent, and giving us our marching orders.
I cannot thank you enough, Congresswoman Lee, of course, Congressman. That was just truly fantastic to hear from you both. I'd also like to really thank Dr. Wilson, Dr. Johnson, Honorable Elihu Harris, of course, Congresswoman Latifah Simon. Thank you all for your very inspiring words and for really moving us and helping us move through this difficult time. I'd like to also give a quick shout out to all the MLK Freedom Center youth that are helping this evening. And a special shout out also to Beverly Hill Thomas and Dr. Karen Bulkey, who have both done a tremendous amount of work to put this evening together. Thank you both so much. And last but certainly not least, thank you all for being here and for participating and for being part of our moving forward. Please do not forget to purchase a copy of your very own signed copy of the ABCs of Democracy, written by our wonderful guest of the evening, Congressman Jeffries, and also to include your gift, should you be willing to make one, to the Martin Luther King Jr. Freedom Center. You'll recognize MLK Freedom Center youth in the back with envelopes and bags and books, so please go ahead and find them. So one last thanks to all of you. I hope that you all consider getting into some more good trouble tonight, and we will continue to march on till victory is won. Thank you all.
Remember we talked about this coming back from Barbados? Oh, yeah.